Hey, what's up, everybody? Happy Monday. Really cool to be coming to you guys today, especially at this time. Of course, I am typically on with Tiffany and Cat Queen. We are live on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. So obviously, make sure you guys catch us this Wednesday. But today is really good. Everybody who knows me, who watches this show, you guys know how much I love, obviously doing the show. But I love doing like these special kind of one-off interviews where I can kind of bring in celebrities and some of everybody and really just kind of get to know who they are, some of the things that they have going on. And we have a really amazing guest for you guys today. I know this is kind of spur of the moment, but obviously it's going to be a lot coming from this. We will have a magazine feature, so you guys will be able to check that out. But the guy that we're bringing in today, definitely really, I think that he's really big out here. Definitely, obviously tapping into the entertainment industry. He's got music in his background, and there's just a lot of stuff that you guys will be able to check out and really learn from him. He has a new project that's debuting that he's kind of I say all across the board when you think of producing and directing, and just he's got his hands in everything. So I thought this would be really good. The opportunity was granted to me, and of course I jumped on it. So I want to welcome in John Anthony Torres to the show.
What's up, you guys?
What's up, man?
What's up, James? Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, very welcome. Just like I said before we went live, man, like I really appreciate this opportunity. It's really cool, and outside of me having a passion for media, like I just love like the entertainment industry and like really seeing the projects that people are working on. And you have Papi that's going to be debuting.
That is correct.
I think it's really amazing, obviously how your hands are kind of all across it and you're acting in it, and like there's so much with it. So we definitely will talk about that a lot. I really want to kind of start, I guess, at the beginning. Like you were born in New York City, right?
That is correct. Born and raised in Spanish Harlem, to be exact.
Yeah. Like, how was that? I mean, obviously, it's a big melting pot in New York. So, I mean, it's not like because you're half Ecuadorian and Puerto Rican, right?
That is correct.
Okay. Correct. So, like, I really was gonna say, what was it like growing up around? Obviously in New York City, but I mean, I realized that it is a big melting pot and there's so many different, races and nationalities and just lots of different people there.
Yeah, of course. Well, I guess, as you said, New York City is such a melting pot of so many different cultures. It's where my parents met, my dad's from Puerto Rico, my mom's from Ecuador. They met here at a party somewhere, So it is very much that melting pot. And I guess adding on to that, my mom worked really hard to put me in the private school system. So again, commenting on this melting pot, I was always the only Latino kid around middle school and high school. However, coming back home to Harlem, it was all Latino and African Americans, So it's just like I did have a good balance of everything, like I can chill with the homies up here, and then I can sit down with a crazy proper dinner and still bang out a great conversation,
Absolutely.
So I think that's also worked in my favor. Thank you, mom. Thank you, mom, so much. And yeah, because of this melting pot, all of these cultures, there's a lot of cultures also behind this project, Papi, which you just mentioned. And if it weren't for New York City and me growing up here, this wouldn't be possible.
I always think it's cool. Like I like seeing people's like their biographies and just kind of being able to see like how they came up and the things that they did as a kid and things that they were exposed to. And I always love to see when kids are introduced to the arts like at an early age.
Oh,
And what I really thought was cool about your childhood is the flute.
yes.
You played the flute, and I knew of the flute as a kid because my sister played the flute.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But like kind of talk about that experience and obviously what that did for you just in terms of like being artistic and creative and kind of having that that push to really be creative.
Yeah, well, I guess there's two parts to that actually. One is the flute, and the other is kind of the upbringing that I had in this melting pot.
Okay.
So my mom was a single parent, and she worked so hard. I'm so appreciative of my mom, Nancy Torres. Thank you, mommy. She worked so hard to like put me in all the right schools, etc. Mainly because where I grew up wasn't like the best environment. There was a lot of just a lot of police presence, violence, etc. Certain things of that nature. She worked so hard to put me in all the extracurricular activities.
Yeah.
So she did that, kind of kept me away from the streets, so to speak, and
Yeah.
in this kind of bubble. In this bubble at school and at her flower shop, because she used to own a flower shop, I would just watch her create. I would watch her create these beautiful floral arrangements, and all of that has, a little bit of chipping away at my artistic persona, so to speak. And second of all, is on top of this extracurricular kind of bubble, my mom was also a paraprofessional. So she was like studies first, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, I went to this school called the PS 96 for elementary school.
Okay.
It was a public school in Harlem. And back when I was in fifth grade, there was this VH1 Save the Music program that was taking over America at the time. And what the network VH1 did is they selected a handful of, underprivileged schools in New York City, and they gave them a whole music department. So like, in Harlem, there music wasn't in my school, up until this happened. And I know all the like second or third graders were required to pick up a recorder, which is a pretty
Right.
simple, I think all
I remember those.
yeah. So me thinking, I'm like, oh well, I want an easy A, I've played the recorder like 3 years ago in second grade. Let me just pick up the flute because everything else, seems far off from the recorder, and I just want another easy A kind of thing. I don't
Yeah,
want to add more work on me at the moment.
absolutely.
Funny that I went that route because that was the exact opposite. I went in, picked up the flute, um, and we had band practice.
Yeah.
So after school we had band, and I started off as like the third or fourth flute. And I had nothing to do. I wasn't allowed to like really hang out or anything after school,
Right.
so I stuck to my studies and my flute. So I did practice my flute. I practiced the stuff at home. And after a year of this flute band in fifth grade, the teacher comes up to my mom. Is just like, hey, your son has a lot of talent. I really suggest you enrolling him or have him try out this program. And it was the Juilliard Music Advancement Program.
Yeah.
After 1 year of playing the flute, I auditioned because I was like, yeah, sure, why not? It seems cool. And it was mainly my mom, like, oh, this is a great opportunity. You got to do it. I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. Let's do it. I don't really have a choice kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I did it. I made it past the 2 or 3 audition processes because there was 2 or 3 audition processes that you have to pass. And I got in. And because of that, it was just my world was just kind of just like turned upside down for the better.
Yeah.
The Juilliard Music Advancement Program is a college division program for young protege musicians. So I wasn't the only one my age doing this.
Right.
I was in an orchestra full of all these kids just doing the same thing. I
But
remember,
when you see other people like when you see other like-minded individuals that who are like succeeding and
yes. And it's crazy too that you mentioned that because again, in band, I was the first flute, meaning I did everything. I did the solos. When I went to Juilliard, you know, I thought I was the shit, pardon
yeah,
my
yeah,
French, but
yeah,
I was like the fifth or sixth flute. The first flute was like this college person, I don't know, but all that to say is that Juilliard experience really opened so many doors for me. I was allowed to play with the New York Philharmonic and James Galway. I played at Lincoln Center at 12 years old. That was my first playbill with my name in the Juilliard section. I graduated from the Juilliard Music Advancement Program. That got me into my private school, high school, which was the Rudolph Steiner School. So I went to high school there with Zoe Kravitz, Julia
Okay.
Stiles' sister, a bunch of like crazy, crazy offspring of very powerful people. And
What
that
is
kind of,
like?
yeah.
What does that do for your, not just your creativity, but like what does that do like for your self esteem and like your confidence and like to be in that type of setting and obviously doing that well at it.
Yeah, again, it was always a very weird mind game for me because I grew up in Harlem. I didn't grow up with money. And all of these institutions and things that I'm succeeding in, everyone has money.
Yeah,
Everyone has those connections. So it was always kind of like a mind game with me, mind play, because you have to be just as confident as these people. Yet
absolutely.
I don't have the resources they do. So I still have to keep my humility at a certain point,
Yeah,
So I think I have a nice balance. And again, coming from my background and going to this private school, like with Zoe Kravitz, fur experts kids like Jennifer Aniston is an alumni of my school, Adrian Grenier from Entourage, the list goes on.
yeah,
um, Having seen all this, like I was just yeah, again, just a humbling experience. We both
yeah.
learned from each other, kind of thing. And we still have those connections still to today. I'm still in contact with kind of everyone, so to speak.
Yeah. Like, do you ever recall it like making you feel out of place? Just in terms of
Yeah.
not same resources.
Yeah, more so in the private school I went to. It's called the Rudolph Steiner School,
Mhm.
and I felt this a little more there only because there were 15 to 20 kids in every grade. So it was a tiny private school in a townhouse on the Upper East Side, and I did feel out of place at certain points. However, again, this kind of survival instinct kicked into me, and I was able to do what I got to do to just to be able to hang out with these kids. One of those things to be able to fit in, funny enough, was how I was introduced to acting.
Yeah,
Again, all the cool kids like Zoe Kravitz and Jane Stiles, who's Julia Stiles' sister, they were doing the after school drama club. All the cool kids in my grade were doing the after school drama club.
yeah,
I was like, oh, I need some friends. Let me see
yeah.
what I can do. And I auditioned for the drama club, and I was a flautist, I was a musician. I never thought of acting or anything like that.
I was gonna say like, what took you to the obviously to acting?
Yeah, it was again, all the cool kids were doing it in drama club. So I wanted friends.
I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah, and then growing up, like I went to Juilliard all the weekends. So like I had no time to have friends, so to speak. I was in school 7 days a week.
Right.
Um, yeah, for like 2 years straight. I was in school 7 days a week. But I really wanted friends, and I wasn't worried about my studies in high school. I was a teenager, and I wanted friends. I wanted companionship. I didn't have siblings. I mean, I do have siblings, but they're all 11 years and older from me. So I was kind of raised almost like borderline only child. So I really did want friends in high school. And again, they were doing the drama club. That was my introduction to acting. Because of the flute, um, you develop a lot of the same muscles as a singer does, and I just had no idea really. So it was a musical that I auditioned for. I was like, okay. They're like, you have to sing, and I'm like, oh shit, okay. So I just practiced, just like I practiced the flute. I practiced for the audition, and I auditioned for Roger in Greece. That was my first audition for any acting piece or any musical, and it was Roger in Greece, and I got the part.
Okay.
Um, Zoe Kravitz was Rizzo. I was Roger. And yeah, a bunch of other people. I think Jane Stiles was a cheerleader. Uh, there's another up and coming great director named Emil Weinstein.
Okay.
And they were also in the drama club with me. Yeah, that Steiner School kind of like really focuses on producing Renaissance kids, so to speak. It's based on the Waldorf education. It was really, really dope. Again, thank you, Mom.
Yeah.
So hard.
No, I think that's cool. I love how you constantly shout your mom because like it's really amazing like, how our parents like really step in and they
Yeah,
really aid a lot of. I mean, I'm really in that same space, like just in terms of like stuff that I've wanted to do. Like my mother has been like the big and still is like the biggest cheerleader of
Right.
that I do. So like I love hearing that.
Yeah, no, for sure. Again, um, single parent household, and she really
Yeah,
did the most that she could.
yeah. Now, just in terms of acting, like you've done some really, really cool stuff, man. Like Quantico, I know I didn't watch a whole lot of it, but
Right.
I do remember that. Gotham, of course, I definitely did watch that. Um, Orange is the New Black. That was like one of my favorite shows. So I know you did some stand-in work for that. Like
Right.
I was,
Well,
I was gonna say, kind of talk a little bit about some of these roles that you really have been able to not only accept them but kind of conquer them. Like you've done really good in a lot of these projects.
right. And so those projects specifically that you bring up, I'll add on as well. Spike Lee. I worked with Spike Lee for a whole season on She's Gotta Have It
Yeah,
Too.
I was gonna say she's got to have it.
Yeah, and I did that specifically because when I decided to pursue acting as a profession and as a career, I had nowhere to start, I didn't know where to go. Yeah, I had those connections in high school, but I didn't want to use that. I wanted to figure things out because, these people are, they're friends, they're acquaintances. I don't really want to ask anyone for anything kind of thing, or that's where my mind was originally. Um, so having said that, I kind of jumped in to the industry behind the scenes, so to speak, just to figure out what's going on. How can I get ahead in this industry, right? And so not many people know, but every TV show, every film, every commercial, you have you have these actors called stand-ins and photo doubles. And so a stand-in is basically used to expedite the filming process. For instance, let's say we have two of me. The me on my right is the main actor. I'm the stand-in. The actor on my right is called first team. I'm called second team. All day on set, we're tag teaming just on set. While this actor is getting the makeup done, I'm in the actor's place getting set up for lighting and getting set up with the director during a rehearsal. If anything changes, actor comes, I let them know. I leave, they do their thing. I watch what they're doing. I come back in. We go to it's literally like tag team. They're called first team. I'm called second team, or I was called second team. So I did this for Spike Lee, for Quantico, thanks to one of the best ADs out there at the moment. His name is Eric Calatayud, but he got me into these shows. He also went to the Rudolph Steiner School, a great school to go to. You have a lot of connections eventually.
Yeah,
But he got me into these shows. And so I was able to do stand-in work. And again, for people like Spike Lee uses his stand-ins as the actors as well, So he'll have most directors will be like, "Oh, the stand-in just go to this point and then that point." With Spike Lee, he had us do the complete scenes in its entirety with acting, with everything until the actor's ready to come on board, and then again we just start that normal tag team kind of thing for the rest of the day or the rest of the month, however long the filming is.
it's
Um,
pretty it's pretty cool to hear you actually break that whole process down.
yeah, it's there's so much in the industry I had no idea. So again, coming into this and wanting to succeed in this industry, I had to know what is going on completely, What is everyone's job on? Why are there 200 to 300 people on this set, What is everyone doing? And
Right.
that's what I did. Yeah, I also realized who was booking the work, what they were doing on set, why they were getting booked, who were their representation, who was their agents. I've always been in survival mode since a kid, growing up in my surroundings and always trying to see how to get ahead, because also as a Latino, being in the only Latino in a bunch of white settings, you gotta think extra hard and work a little extra hard just to get noticed. um, and that, again, going back to the stand-in and photo double, I did all of that as like my ground research to see what's making this industry tick. What is everyone doing? How are these actors getting those parts, etc. And then
Now,
that's when I jumped in for auditioning and stuff.
right. Now, obviously, these aren't the only projects that you've done. There's been, a bevy of other projects and films and whatnot that you've been able to work on. But how does that all kind of lead and transition to Papi?
Sure. Okay, so all of that leads up to Papi because with Papi, I have multiple hats, and even though I'm credited with a few hats, which are many, like you kind of said earlier, I have my hand in almost every process as one of the main producers.
Because I'm like producer, music director, the lead actor.
And I
Uh,
also play a piano live. So I'm a composer, a pre-scorer. I made a pre-score for the movie and gave it to the scorers and the musicians to fulfill their music duties. So I did a pre-score for them. I composed an original piece called Escape, and that's played live, and it's recorded live in the film that you guys can see as well. I am the musical director. I'm also the lead actor and one of the executive producer as well as co-producer.
that is amazing. Like I think the average person looking at it and just looking at all of the parts that you play in this, it's like this is impossible. Like how does one person handle all of this? But I think that's really amazing.
Yeah, again, it was a beautiful way to kind of encompass all of my life studies as a performing artist in
Right,
general and kind of like putting it putting it all in one project.
right.
And also the life of Papi itself is very interesting how that came about. Papi was originally a short play written and directed by this wonderful screenwriter named Ashley L. Canfield. She is
Okay.
also she's also one of our producers. She's also the founder of Wild Child Film Productions as well as Blended City Productions, both companies attached to Papi. She's also the director. So Ashley, she wrote Papi in 2020 as part of this online theater festival produced by the Nuyorican Poets Cafe. And for anyone that doesn't know the Nuyorican Poets Cafe, it has been a staple. It has been a staple in the Lower East Side of New York City for artists of color and poets of color since the 70s. So we were very honored when they picked Papi up, and I had nothing to do with the project at that time, except for acting. I
Okay.
auditioned for that project. I got the role, right? We won the whole festival. Like our play won. And after our play winning, I went up to Ashley and I was like, "Hey, Ashley, thank you so much for writing this script. It allowed me to really forgive my family in certain situations. And not only that, we won the whole festival. I really
Yeah.
think we should make this into a short film one day because we probably will win something or get some sort of recognition." And she was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, no, good idea," kind of thing, but didn't really, do anything with it, kind of. I find out last year, again, 3 years later, she reaches out to me and she's like, "Hey, JT, remember when you told me to write Bobby into a short film?" I was like, "Yes." She was like, "I did it. I need you to lead the cast. I need you to lead the cast. Can you do this?" I was like, "Oh my God, I'm so honored. Of course, I'll lead the cast." She found out that I played piano. There was no piano piece in the original Poppy play. So now this whole thing was written for me. So
Right.
she readapted and written for my voice and for she wrote a piano piece in there as well after scrolling through my social media and seeing, some things that I have out there. Um, and yeah, I was just like, "Hey, Ashley, if I'm able to bring some more resources into this film, can I have my name on it as well in terms of executive producer?" And that's how it started.
Yeah.
And she was like, "Of course." So I brought in people, I brought in a bunch of people, and we raised our budget from, 4K to 12K.
Oh,
And that's how you make, anything begin and make the wheels,
yeah.
and how you get real professional people wanting to do favors and things. So now this is when I use all of kind of like, my affiliations and stuff, because I have something to show now. Now I have a resume. Now you guys can trust me, so to speak, right? So we have all these people coming together with me and collabing. Now we have Papi. And for anyone that doesn't know, Papi makes its North American premiere at Lincoln Center on May 11th, 8 p.m.
I think this is really amazing, man. And when you speak of, just the utilization of the resources that you have and friendships and connections that you have, like, I mean, this is like, it's not just a lesson, obviously, in this business, but it's a lesson, even if you're looking at like entrepreneurship and running
Oh yes.
and
And also
like
with acting itself, like with acting, that's a whole nother ball game. Like I have a team of so many agents. Thank you guys so much. I'm represented by DDO New York for voiceover. I'm represented by Amy Lord, who owns Eris Talent Agency. I'm also represented by Jackie Reed, who owns LAU, and Charlie Winfield of FFT Models. Everyone is always working around the clock to furthermore my career, so to speak. And I thank them so much. And with acting itself, having to get those people to notice you, those reps, you have to know how to pitch. You got to know how to pitch yourself. I mean, actors who kind of just wait around for like something that's nothing's gonna happen. You got to go out there and get what you want. You got to pitch
right.
yourself. You got to make a whole, like you said, make this a business. You're a
Yeah.
business, and I know it sounds weird, but if you're in the acting industry, you're a product. Sell your product.
No, I listen, man. As an entrepreneur, like it all makes perfect sense. Like I said, it's like the perfect lesson for anybody that's looking to run a business or even just being in this industry, which, like you said, it's a business itself.
Right, right,
Now
right.
you now you said it's gonna it debuts again when?
Sure. So right now, Papi, it's making its whole film festival run.
Okay,
So it was invited by the Latino and Native American Film Festival in Connecticut. It was also invited by the Austin Liftoff Festival in Texas. However,
okay,
it's now making its North American premiere at the African Film Festival, part of its Perpetual Connection segment, which is hosted at Lincoln Center May 11th at 8 p.m.
that's really up. So is and even with the Lincoln Center, that's like full circle.
Oh man, yeah. I graduated from Juilliard. I
No,
played at Avery Fisher Hall with the New York Philharmonic at some point
right.
too. And coming back and not working, but seeing a project that I put everything, my whole heart, like when you guys go see Papi, trigger warning, it's a dramatic narrative. However, I'm really wearing my heart on my sleeves there. Um, and so to have that vulnerability and to be showcased, and also to have this project that combines all of my life studies. uh, I'm very excited. I'm very proud. I'm excited for the future of all the other projects I got going on. um, I'm pumped. Things are
Yeah,
starting to gain traction.
yeah. I think you definitely should be. I'm looking forward to this, man. I definitely want to be able to see this.
Oh, you
It's
will.
like for the people who don't really know like the basis behind, kind of talk a little bit about obviously what it's about.
Sure. So Papi is a short film. It's 23 minutes long. It is a dramatic narrative. Again, trigger warning. It touches on some kind of universal but sad themes. And now, having said that, the story is about Hector Jr. I play Hector Jr., who is a guy who has a strange relationship with his family, a strange relationship with his sisters, his mom, his father. How he deals with that, and more so, coming to terms with his dad dying of a COVID crisis during the COVID-19 crisis. So
Okay.
without saying too much, those are kind of like the main crux of it. And this film is literally doesn't happen over like 3, 4, 5 days. It's literally within a few hours. It's a little slice of life.
Now, you mentioned a little while ago about how this film kind of helped you with your own family. Kind of talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I was raised in a single parent household. Um, and as we get older, we realize that as we go into adulthood, stuff happens, shit happens, so to
Yeah,
speak.
pretty much.
you know, we got to always learn how to forgive and not hold grudges. Um, having
It
said that,
takes a long time to get to that place, though.
yeah,
Well, for some.
right, right. And for me specifically, it took me so long. It took me up to this project was written by someone else for me to have that catharsis and for me to have that forgiving moment towards, my parents,
Yeah,
and towards my family. So it was really beautiful. Another beautiful thing about movies and the arts in general, they're meant to move people. This project is meant to, I would love if it were a healing agent for everyone just as much as it was for me. Again, growing up in a single household, um, I didn't really get a chance to ever say anything to my father, as an adult or as a functioning mind. So I was able to do all of that in my acting.
Yeah,
So all of that was in my acting in this project. So
yeah.
that's how I was able to, I guess, have um, that catharsis for myself using the project.
But then that makes it even more personal for you, you know.
Right. And also just piggybacking on that as well, the way the project was composed is actually very awesome. Ashley, she sent out an anonymous survey to a bunch of people, and she took all of those people's stories and made Papi, which is why it's so universal, which is why it's hitting so many people the way it
Yeah,
is.
yeah,
Because it's not, even though, yeah, I'm talking about it, it's not necessarily my story. It's literally the play, the original play, which is now a short film, was made by anonymous survey by a bunch of people. All of those people's stories were sad yet true, yet universal and true.
yeah. No, I think that's really dope. It's something about, I think I'll just say short stories that I really fell in love with. Probably, I would say maybe within the last 5 to 10 years. I like looking at a lot of short stories and just seeing how, obviously the directors and the producers are able to kind of put this together in 23 minutes, like you said, almost kind of like a sitcom, but you're getting like a whole, like they I don't know if you ever paid attention to the Haves and the Have Nots by Tyler Perry, but one of his actresses on the show, Danielle Detweiler, she had done a short story, like kind of during the time of like I guess the biggest moments of the Haves and the Have Nots, and
Right.
it actually turned out really, really good. And then obviously she went on from there to do Teal and all the other stuff that she's been able to work on. But
Right.
it's really cool just to because a lot of people are getting their start in like these projects in these short stories.
Right, right. And because of Papi, we're doing due diligence with Papi, and I already have my next short film that I will also be co-producing and leading the cast in, called Closure. We
Okay, that
start,
was my next question.
we start filming that in June.
Okay, so you start filming in June.
Yes, we start filming in June, and I will be leading the cast. I will be producing, executive producer as well.
Okay.
Um, and yeah, that's gonna hit even harder than Papi, only because it has to do with more timely matters, specifically with AI. It has to do with AI. So it is a sci-fi dramatic short narrative. So
Okay. Now is this a full length or is this a short story or?
another short story. Again, this is just in preparation for my project following after, which is a feature film called Everything is Fine that will happen in April 2025.
Okay. No, this is really dope, man. And I love the way you kind of have everything lined up and obviously you're doing this now and then closure comes, you start
Well, you
filming.
mentioned entrepreneurship, and you really have to be strategic. And because this is a collaborative, for instance, we have Wild Child Films, we have Blended City Films, we have my name, John Anthony Torres, and then we just signed on Koki Productions. We signed on a bioengineer named Beckett Gukin, and also Mariama Bonetti, who is the offspring of the New York African Film Festival itself. All these producers have just signed on for Closure. And so with our new team, we're ready to make this go crazy. It's going to be shorter than Papi, so 14 minutes long. The
Okay.
original, and because we have these people, and because people are starting to trust us now, I, as an entrepreneur as well, I don't want to waste anyone's time, favors, or money. Having said that, I'm using things that have been tested already. For instance, Papi was an original play and it won a festival. That's been tested to work. Closure, which was originally, again, a play called Mimo by Luis Roberto Herrera. It was an original play produced at New York Symphony Space in 2018, which I led the cast in as well. Again, I don't want to waste anyone's money, time, or efforts. So I'm using things that work. This was already produced. We have Ashley, great screenwriter, has readapted it for short film. We've gotten the rights. I have gotten the rights specifically from Luis Roberto Herrera. He's happy to be on board with us, and he's going to be credited as well because he is the original story, the content writer. And yeah, we're just bringing all of our people up together slowly, but being strategic, always being strategic.
Absolutely. What are you most, looking back at all that you've been able to accomplish? Like, well, before I even ask you that, how difficult is it? Because you said this closure is going to be 14 minutes.
Yes.
How difficult? And obviously, you haven't started filming yet. But I'm like, how difficult is it for you to squeeze a full story into 14 minutes without moving too fast and obviously, catching people's minds and their intellect, and for them to really understand the full gamut of what's going on.
Right. Well, that's where the team comes to play. For instance, Lewis is the original playwright. Ashley comes in as a knowledgeable screenwriter, and she takes that story and makes it make sense for film. Theater is very different from film. So in the original play, it was like a lot of just like two people talking. You can't have that in film because people will get bored, So it's like cut down, shortened, so that it's just like the most important stuff happening in this like first 8 minutes,
Right.
It's like very fast, back to back, boom, 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 but keeps everyone on its feet. Luis Roberto, again, wrote the original. Ashley takes her producer's mind, her script writing mind, her knowledge of TV and film writing to make that make sense and make it work and make it readable and translatable for the audience.
Right.
Not only that, we just, like I said, we signed on Beckett Gukin, who is a scientist and a bioengineer. So yesterday, for instance, we had an extensive meeting between all his producers, and he was just going through terminology. An engineer wouldn't say this. No, this doesn't make sense. Well, AI and pharma and this, no, let's do this. So we're making it as best as it can. And not only that, we're cutting it down. So it is, again, just a tiny slice of life, so that if someone were to come up to us in these film festivals, which, knock on wood,
right,
anticipating happening, big people are gonna come up to us and be like, hey, here's X amount of dollars. Can you readapt this for an anthology? Can you readapt this for a limited series? Can you readapt this for a feature film? Can you readapt this for anything? And that we've had just the right amount of information so that when they come back to us, we're able to flesh everything out because we already have all this information. However, none of that is even like mentioned in this little slice of life. However, we're ready for that next part of this project with anticipation of this project getting picked up by someone else.
This is amazing, man. Like I'm really eager to see. I'm eager to see closure, but I'm definitely eager to see Papi too.
Right.
It's really dope. 23 minutes makes a little bit more sense to me than 14 minutes. So I'm very eager to see how that comes together. But I know people have done it.
Yeah, and it's funny that you mentioned the 23 minutes because for me, I would love for it for the original like cut was I think 30 something minutes, something like that. And we just had to like kept slicing things down and making it make sense. Only because with film festivals, even if your stuff is great, they want to put more films as opposed to just one great film. They'd rather have 3 great films. So with short films, it's always smart, and we're learning this as we go, to have it shorter. Why? Because you're more guaranteed to be included in these bigger programs like Sundance, Cannes, Tribeca, etc. A 23-minute film, unless you have a bunch of famous people in there, it's going to have a little bit more of a hard time getting into just slots. Because again, for a film festival director's perspective, it's like, one great 23-minute film versus 2 great 9 to 10 minute films. Let's go with the 2 to, just to get more voices out there. And that's nothing to say on our project. It's just technical stuff.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting to know. And that's the key is that, you obviously got to be a part of all of this to know those things.
Right. Trial and tribulation.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I was going to ask you, when you look back at everything that you've done from being a flautist to, getting into acting and now directing, producing, leading these projects, what are you most proud of in terms of your journey?
The most proud I would probably have to say is this project. Um, I had two moments where I did tear up from receiving news because of this project.
Yeah,
One of them was because of our North American premiere at Lincoln Center. Like you said, it was a full circle moment kind of moment for me.
yeah,
And even more so, we just got news this week that my film just got picked up by Magic Johnson Theater, which is a few blocks away,
yeah,
in Harlem, as part of the People's Film Festival.
yeah,
And for me, that hit me the hardest because this is my neighborhood.
yeah.
I can literally see Magic Johnson Theater from my window right now. Um, and growing up, I grew up in Harlem, and it wasn't the best place, so to speak, to grow up, which is why my mom worked so hard to put me in these extracurricular activities. We also didn't have the most money growing up, which is why she was working so hard. Um, and having said that, she would save up every 2 months or 3 months. I remember she would save up for us to make it to a matinee at Magic Johnson Theater, only because that was the only time that she could afford something, was every 2 to 3 months when she saved just for me,
Yeah,
just to save for me to take me out and do something.
yeah,
And every 2 to 3 months, she would save, which wasn't that much, but she would save her dollars and stuff to take me to Magic Johnson Theater for a matinee specifically because we couldn't afford a regular ticket. The
right.
matinees were cheaper. And again, this is Magic Johnson Theater, and that was my childhood. That was my introduction to movies or anything, so to speak, because we didn't have cable up until a certain point.
Right.
Um, but yeah, that was my memory. And then now, just having this news where, you know, I take care of my mom full time. She has dementia, diabetes, lupus. So now that this is a full circle moment, it's like, look at what we did, mom. Like, look at what we did. Look at what I did. It's really just full circle,
Yeah,
such troubling times. And I didn't even know at the moment, I didn't even know what was going on, but
yeah,
I appreciated us going to Magic Johnson every 2 to 3 months because that was the only theater we could afford. We couldn't
yeah.
afford to take the bus or anything to downtown or like 86th Street or something like that. We kept it in the neighborhood, and here we are. My first professional project just got picked up by Magic Johnson Theater, May
That is
30th, May 30th, June 1st, Magic Johnson Theater. You can check out Papi as well.
that is truly amazing, man. I'm sorry to hear about your mom with the dementia and lupus.
Oh,
How
it's
long have you
okay.
been fighting that?
Another part of humbling and even more of a driving force for me to get things done.
Absolutely.
I want to show her everything that I still got in my arsenal.
Absolutely. Like, how long has she been battling that, or is she in a space where she can kind of still know what's going on with what you're
Yeah,
doing?
yeah. So she's still in a place where she can still know what's going on and
Yeah,
stuff. I think the she's been battling dementia for about 4 years, the
yeah,
lupus and diabetes as well, but it's mainly the dementia, which is kind of the most noticeable.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, it comes mainly in, like, I guess, very immediate, short memory kind of things.
Mhm.
Like, morning, mom, and I'll have to say maybe a second time throughout the day, or yeah, just show like mix up memories.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, otherwise, if you were to meet, you'd be like, oh, what a cute old lady.
Because dementia actually runs through my family. So,
Sorry to
I,
hear.
unfortunately, I've been able to kind of witness, just a lot of family members, uncles, and aunts, kind of dealing with that. And my grandmother had it,
It's a
and
bit hard for you.
it's kind of, I was gonna say interesting, but just to kind of see like the beginning stages where you can see they're kind of forgetting stuff, here
Yeah,
and there. It's just kind of in and out, versus a few years later when it starts getting worse. And in all honesty, we believe that my father is like showing like early signs.
right.
But it definitely through the paternal side, like it runs through the family. So like as far as like my grandmother, and she was one of 11, and pretty much all of them have had dementia.
Wow. I'm so sorry
So
to hear.
seems like my father's getting it, but then I have lupus. So like was she diagnosed with lupus at a later age, or
Yeah, she was diagnosed about in 2019, right before COVID.
okay? It's interesting because I I never knew anything about lupus or anything until I got diagnosed with it. But I didn't get diagnosed until
Sorry.
2000. I got sick in 16. So, and it takes them so long to figure out, what's going on.
Right.
So once they finally figured it out, I think it was into 2017. But
I hope you're doing well with your health and keeping on.
well, luckily, I've, I guess, with God's blessings and all that, like I've actually done really well with it. Considering in the beginning, I was more in denial, I guess, so to speak. So
Right.
I you kind of just figure, oh, I just need to do this and I'll be better. I think I just didn't really want to believe that anything was wrong, but like I kept blanking out, like I was working too much, and I mean, you kind of know the rigors of trying to make it and trying to make sure you got money for the kids and home and trying to pursue the dreams and the passion and all that stuff. And I was working a full-time job, I was working a part-time job, and I had a lot of stuff going on.
Right.
So it was just like, just knowing and learning to really prioritize yourself and your health and life, and just slowing down, because I mean, shit. If I fall out dead, then what's gonna happen? So it's like, just learning to slow down and quit one of the jobs, and it's really done a lot. And then I'll be the first to tell you, I don't necessarily eat the best, but I mean, I do pretty good, just in terms of like knowing what to eat, what not to eat,
right,
stuff. And it's just, trying to be disciplined with it. But I mean, I've done very, very well with it.
Yeah, I mean, discipline is important for sure.
Yeah. Because they want you to do, a lot of the steroids, and I'm like, I can't do the steroids, because then I'm like, hell, I'm trying to. It's like I'll lose all the weight and then I'll pick up the weight, because
Right.
when you taking the steroids, you start picking up the weight. So it's like I've kind of done almost the Luther thing, like just like I've lost it all, and then I've gained something, and then I've lost it all, and then I think like 3 times, like I've gone down, and then it's slowly.
That's also probably not good for your body.
Absolutely. So, like I said, just kind of learning and growing, and just learning, to take, better take care of yourself and all that.
Right.
But
yeah, you got to be very kind to yourself in any industry,
Absolutely.
Walk of life.
And that's, at this stage of the game, like, I think I'm probably doing the best that I've done with it, because I mean,
Awesome.
Everything right now is all passion, man. Like I literally, and Brandon can tell you, like I literally walked from my job like 2.5 years ago to just do the media stuff. So like when I tell you, I'm like,
that's when the real magic happens.
Winging it. Like when I say I'm winging it, like I'm winging it. But I guess like when you think of Tabitha Brown, like I drive Uber, and I'll throw some Instacart in there and some DoorDash and all that stuff, and I'm like, I'm good. So it's working, man.
Yeah, you got however way you can find a way to make your dreams possible, tangible, do it. I mean,
Absolutely.
as you know firsthand, there's so many sacrifices that come with running and achieving your goals, or just even trying to attempt to achieve those goals. And it's interesting you say that too, because growing up, there's so many times where people who are close to me too, or friends, would be like, oh well, why don't you try like this, or why don't you become a manager or an agent? And I'm like,
I still hear it every day. And I was management at the hospital that I worked at, but I still hear it every day. Like, go get a job. I'm like, this is it. This is it.
I'm a talent. This is it. My life is catered to auditioning and my projects, so I'm gonna keep it that way. I'm happy. You happy?
Yeah. And that's it. Right now, it's all about happiness, man. Like I feel like I've done good. I mean, I played by the rules for so long, and now I'm just like, I got to make my own rules. Like, with my kid, like he's graduating from high school this year.
Congrats.
I just posted his graduate or his cap and gown picture today, so I'm like, I'm good, man. I don't have nothing to worry about.
Yeah, that's right.
Now, this has been really amazing, man. Is there anything that you feel like you really wanted to get out with this conversation?
I guess just, speaking to great people like you,
I appreciate it.
talking, touching on the projects that I got going on. Anyone else, if you haven't gotten a chance to see, I play this guy named Diego Pilco in the show called The Perfect Murder. It's on the ID network. It's on
Yeah.
season 4, episode 2. You can catch me. Won't say too much, but they compare me to an innocent face killer. Pretty
All right,
exciting.
I'm gonna really watch that now. It's one of them shows, like it's probably about 20 shows that I keep saying I'm gonna sit down and watch it. I'm gonna sit down and watch it, and I'm usually running so much that I never sit and watch it. So now it's like there's a new season of them on Amazon Prime, so I'm gonna watch that, and I'm gonna watch The Perfect Murder, so I can check that out. Check you out.
And finally, you guys keep your eyes peeled. I'll be in an upcoming Marvel Studios project, and that'll be released in the next 2 years.
Oh wow, that's cool too, man. Okay, man. Again, thank you so much, man. Like I said, it's like everything is purpose and passion. So like I think that this was definitely meant to be. I appreciate the time and the opportunity to definitely get you on the platform, and just look forward to doing more.
Oh man, it was my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on today's show. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right, have a good day, man.
You too, James. Have a good day.